How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lone Wolf, and today I'm going to go and test out these 3 new mods they've added by JBE, I believe is the guy who's been making them, or group. I'm not sure if it's a team of people or just one. Yeah, first things first though, happy Christmas. Hope you're all having a good start to the day, or I suppose actually if you're in Australia and that, you're probably nearly at the end of Christmas already. Yeah, I'm going to go and buy these things. So they've added a P16, this thing, a Tatarin that's done up, and a Voron D as well. So first up, I'm going to go and give the P16 a go. I was quite looking forward to this because I like the P16 as it is anyway. And yeah, with this setup, I mean that's kind of a before and after, pretty stock one to this. You can get bigger tyres on it. There's all like a ridiculous amount of tyres in a good way. There's all sorts of things. Yeah, it's also all-wheel drive this time. Still got the best horn in the game. You got a roof rack on the roof, a roof rack on the front. You can get like a different type of sideboard, but you can add all sorts of cranes and near enough everything I think you can add is yeah, you're able to stick it on the back. There's a little crane as well you can see between. To be honest, I can't remember if I've mentioned it or not. I probably have, but yeah, stuff like this. The same with the sort of the club and that as well. I'm surprised they never had options like this with the sideboard on the back because they sort of suit it pretty well. And yeah, I assume the power's been dialed up on this thing as well. Of course, I had to go and grab myself a horse for the vehicle. I always like when I take the P16 out, I usually stick a Loaf on the back or sort of hooked over that rail at the top back of the cab. But yeah, now it's got a sideboard, I can stick it in there. I can even pack it as well, so it's really not going anywhere. And yeah, like I say, pretty soon I'll get these sort of trucks going out on some missions just on my normal playthrough. So first up, let's go for a little jump. It's got like a custom gearbox. I think this one it's 7 gears in it, which yeah is pretty good. It's better than the advanced special or the special, I think. And like I say, I quite like these monster truck tyres at the minute. Other than the fact that I just like the look of them anyway. They sit nice and wide on all the trucks, so it helps with the tipping as well. And they, according to the stats, are all pretty grippy. I think there's a few different slight versions. Some are OP versions, some are a little bit more in line with the game, but whatever these are, they're doing yeah, pretty well. As for having a look through the roof rack and stuff, I just wanted to see how many points they're giving us. They both give 200 points each. One's got 4 spare tyres, one's got 2, so yeah, 400 points in total. And then as for the fuel, they're slightly odd numbers. I think one's like, is it 565? And then the other one's 188 fuel. Like I said, slightly random numbers, but it makes no odds. Add it all together, it's around 750 fuel as well, I think. So it's plenty to keep you going. And of course, got the Loaf with me, which is another 300 repair points. And 120 litres of fuel and 4 spare tyres or whatever it's got. So yeah, between all of them, I'll be lasting for a good old while. That's what she said. Yeah, you still when you bump the suspension that you take a bit of damage. Driving up the river, I mean, it motors up here, muscles through pretty well, all things considered, because as I was saying yesterday in one of the videos, yeah, just when the current's going against you, it like really holds you back in this game. It's just like, must be the way it's coded or whatever, it's just sort of an automatic limiter where it near enough stops you, but this thing is, it's always had a good bit of power to it, so it crawled through there pretty well. Killed sign. It doesn't seem to break stuff when you do the horn in the proving grounds. Not that it really matters. Again, these proving grounds are just so much handier for testing all the different stuff, because I'm still a bit wary of doing multiple mods on my normal playthroughs, because various people have said throughout the last week or so that when they've added multiple mods, probably more than 2 and that, I think when they've probably bunched quite a few together, but they've started having more bugs than that. So yeah, going to the proving ground is just more risk-free, because like I said, it kind of copies your trucks over to this, hence why I can still grab all my other trucks like this Loaf, etc. But yeah, you don't have to sell all the truck when you quit the game. It just, that's it, sort of tidies the game up on its own without having to pack it all away. Yeah, as for climbing with this thing as well, it's pretty decent, I think. It always is a little bit awkward, I think, on rocks. For whatever reason, a lot of trucks and that just seem a little bit slippy when it comes to them. But driving all looked like the dirt hills and everything, it was fine. It's a little bit of a tight squeeze going through there with these wider tyres on. But it's still pretty cool. Like, they've got all kinds of tyres. There's slightly narrower ones and that. And again, the sizes are bigger. I can't remember what the top size was. I think it might have been 61 or 64. Either way, it's still... yeah, bigger than like the original ones you could get on it. And as I said, it's all-wheel drive as well, which is pretty cool because even though it doesn't necessarily need the increase in power, it's just nice sometimes on various hills and whatever. If you've actually got power going to the front, the fact that you can steer them, you can kind of aim them in a certain direction, and they're biting in and trying to pull your front end that way. When you've only got rear-wheel drive, even if you're steering the tyres, like if you're going up a hill sort of leaning to the left, and you're steering into it, it's you just kind of scoot along really, because there's no reason for your front tyres to bite in over just scraping along and sort of doing what the rear tyres are doing. So yeah, first impressions of this so far are pretty damn good, to be fair. Well, obviously I tried all three of them tonight. I think they're all pretty good. In fairness, most of the mods I've bought I think are pretty decent. Even some of the ones that maybe aren't necessarily my cup of tea at the minute. The first truck I tried yesterday, it was cool and everything, it's fine. It's a little bit slow for what I'm looking for at the minute, as I said, because we're console players, have been stuck with whatever the game gives for the last 9 odd months or however long it's been. Now we have got stuff that can go a bit mental. I've kind of been enjoying that for now, but at some point, so they tell me, I'll settle down. I like watching all the suspension wiggle around. Yeah, went to get up here. Well, it got up there fine. I was turning, I thought, well, it might make it. That front left's kind of skirting along, but no, it slipped off. Took me with it, and we rolled. But it was a good time to pause, so I thought next up, we'll get the Tatarin. That's kind of before and after. That's a pretty stock one at first. That's the, yeah, when I got it all tuned up. Again, all kinds of different things you can do to it. You see I've got a spare wheel near the front, a roof rack on the back. I mustn't have put it on this, but I think you can get a roof rack on the top as well. There's also, what's it called, like cab supplies or something inside the actual Tatarin. Like if you look behind you, there's all sorts of supplies in there, which is again pretty cool because it was just a big empty space last time, so at least they've used that. It's got a couple of different options of raised suspension. It's got a better engine, a winch that's like an autonomous winch, but it's actually strong and decent, like the stock sort of autonomous winches it gives you in this game. Yeah, they're autonomous, which is good, but the trade-off is they're pretty damn weak, and especially these days, half the time they might work when you've flipped, but they haven't got enough guts to them to actually flip you back. So yeah, this is more like the advanced heavy kind of winch, but autonomous. Again, pretty good selection of tyres. I think with this one, was it 51 or 54 maybe, like the inch tyres. And again, I've gone for these like monster truck mods. They're, yeah, pretty cool, sit nice and wide. You can get a few different sets of dual tyres as well. I have a go in something else. I took one onto one of my playthroughs and had a quick little blast round Black River. And yeah, it's pretty good actually. It gave you the option of the Cat 770G tyres, which I believe are just bigger versions of the P16. But obviously they sit on this as like dual tyres, but I believe they upped the stats for like the P16 and that. I'm sure a lot of these tyres are all like upped stats anyway, but yeah, it looked and worked pretty well with them on. When you're going down here, for whatever reason, I just can't steer this thing in a straight line very well. Or, well, I can go in a straight line, but if it's slightly off and you start veering towards the wall, trying to get just a tiny little bit of steering input to correct yourself, I kept swerving side to side and clipping the wall and all sorts. So, not really knocking this thing. It's probably just me. It has also now got rear steer and everything. It might even have three. The front axles steer, obviously. The second one, I think, steer a little less. Yeah, the rear steers a little bit as well. So the turning circle on this thing is a hell of a lot better than it used to be, which is good because that was one of the things that if you actually do a full circle in the Tatarin, it's a pretty massive turning circle. It might even be more than the twin steer, but now it's a lot more decent. And overall, yeah, I mean, this is probably about as close as you're going to get so far to a tank in the game. But I know they have added a tank, that IS-2 thing, which looks pretty cool. I kind of do want to try it, actually. I should get that out at some point. I know it's not got tracks on it as well. It's just got like loads of tyres, but that doesn't really bother me. I remember watching TC Gaming years ago, tried a few tracked vehicles on one of the mods and modded maps on MudRunner. And I remember all the tracks kept like sticking into the floor and then freaking out and glitching and making his truck go flying in the air and all sorts. So, to be honest, the way they look like they made that IS-2 tank with just sort of loads of tyres lining it rather than the actual tracks is probably a pretty good workaround for it. Yeah, as you can see, this thing climbs no problem. It's very good. There's already people said in the comments that they want to restart a new playthrough and they'll be using this thing a lot, and I can see why. Like, I've always liked the Tatarin, but the big thing for me has always been that I'd take the Tatarin out more than you probably see in videos, but it's very slow normally, like painfully slow, even though it's got the advanced special, which is like a lot of the other trucks. I assume because the tyres were fairly small on it, it just went slower. Like in this game, bigger tyres is more speed, it seems, for the same gearboxes. Sort of makes sense for getting power at the top end and all that, but yeah, it was always just really slow and it felt a little bit boring, always felt a little bit impatient, and I'm trying to get to where I'm going, so I don't use it a hell of a lot, but that Tatarin had a lot more going for it. It goes a lot quicker, a lot more enjoyable. It's got a hell of a lot more power. It's just a good truck. I'll definitely be using that a lot more. And then yeah, last up is this Voron D. There was a little before and after. Obviously it's a pretty standard issue truck before. Now though, it's got a raised suspension, the big monster truck tyres again, I believe a better engine and stuff. Again, an autonomous winch that's actually got some strength to it. And there was various add-ons on the back. To be fair, I left this one pretty basic. Well, I did all the engine and gearbox and everything, but I didn't really add any add-ons. But overall, it feels pretty nice. Got a nice speed to it, because the normal one has got some kind of special gearbox. Was it the special off-road? It might be. And yeah, with this one, I think it's got sort of a JBE gearbox. So it's obviously sort of made his own, and yeah, works pretty nicely. Let's go and test for a little jump. To be honest, doing this jump, it's been nice to see how much damage it takes when it impacts. Obviously, I like to see how far I can jump. For example, that mod yesterday, what was it called? Like the Maximus Titan thing or something. Yeah, the suspension on that is something that does feel very nice and unique about that. And when I was doing jumps like that, it just lands fine, which is more what you'd expect. In fairness, I wouldn't expect to jump a truck like this and land with no issues. Although it reminds me when I do that jump there, some of you might have seen it. It's an old footage of some Russian tank test driver that jumps a little, what was it, a BT7 tank or something, off a big ramp, a bit like that, and jumps it into a lake. And yeah, when you consider he is in a tank, it's pretty impressive. He's got some balls on him, I'll give him that. Same guy who test drove the IS-7, apparently, which is a pretty good tank. Anyone's ever played World of Tanks used to have a good old time on that. I still do every now and then. It's one of those games that just kind of perpetually keeps going. So I think I've got a lot of level 8 and 9 tanks at the minute. One day I'll get to 10. I'll have my dream of driving a mouse. Yeah, anyway, today's video is obviously just more messing around. I wasn't really too sure. I've kind of been, especially that they dropped mods not too long ago, I've been almost lagging behind a bit, trying to test them all out, and not really had time to do a lot else other than just make videos of me messing around with all the different new mods. Yeah, normally after I make this video, a few hours after, but I'd go bed, whereas obviously because it's Christmas, I'm gonna go over to my brother's, go over to Dave's for a Christmas dinner and see everyone there. They tell me there's a lockdown thing going on, but to be honest, I don't think anyone listens to that shit anyway. Maybe they have to in London, but I don't know. Right, there's cars driving past every 10 seconds. Everyone's out and about. I don't think anyone really cares. It was never a good idea when they said they're going to try and stop people having a Christmas. Good luck with that. You best get some prison cells ready, because about 70 million people are going to be arrested today. A tip there, by pure chance, my Tatarin had rolled, and I was able to fling a winch out and grab it, which is pretty good, because I've still got the autonomous winch on, so at least it's got some good old length to it. Again, still don't know what she said. Got like a little squawky reverse beeper on this thing, but it's got rid of the... I don't think it's a bad thing. When you used to change gear in this, I don't know, it sounded like it chirped like a bird. And it, for a while, I had my headset on and it was like, it sounded odd in that. I kept, every time it was happening, I was pausing the game like, what the hell is that? I thought there was like a dying bird outside my window, and then, yeah, eventually I realised it was this thing. So now I rescued the Tatarin. Got all happy, I was like, right, there's a rescue vehicle nearby. Drop the hammer. That lasted about 2 seconds. Back for a little go in this beast. And yeah, coupled with the raised suspension, I was surprised it didn't tip there, but in a good way, pleasantly surprised. I mean, it's certainly not top heavy or anything. This has always been pretty bottom heavy. You just kind of, if you imagine it, imagine like a very hollow shell, but the bottom chassis plate, imagine like a big, fat, meaty, thick piece of steel. That seems to be the weight characteristics of this thing. I have to say, with the Voron D, the weight on it is very good. The bigger tyres keep it low down, but I assume they've kept it like how the stock Voron D is, where there seems to be like a big slab of weight at the top of the roof on the Voron D. That's one of the main reasons I don't really drive it. Probably that and the special off-road gearbox. Not that it's a bad gearbox, it's just it slows you down overall compared to the high range. But I'd much rather the Voron Grad over the Voron D, because yeah, the Voron D just seems to have like extra dense weight all along its roof, whereas the Voron Grad doesn't have any. It's like the cab weighs practically nothing, so it's a lot harder to tip. Yeah, this little obstacle course thing, for the most part, I clipped it there, but because it's got sort of the nice big juicy wheels all the way across, it sort of bounces the middle set of axles and kind of skips its way along. I assume there ain't going to be many places this thing ain't going to get. Yeah, I like how easily it just ramped its way up there as well. What I was trying to do is winch to the Loaf and just pull both of them back at once. I actually think it would have worked if I'd gone more over to like the left. In the end, yeah, I just kind of pulled the Loaf out the back of the sideboard. And again, I like the way you can just reverse up, bumps its way up there with no real issues. Do that every time. Forget to put it back in just auto or something. The amount of times I've accidentally forgotten, just gone reversing, flying backwards off a cliff or something. It's like, again. Yeah, plenty of power though to flip this thing. Of course, I have to stick Loaf back in. Here's a goddamn professional, and it's Christmas. Got to get your Christmas Loaf out. See how many kids are ripping presents out right now. Ripping presents open. Having the time of their life. I remember when I was a kid, well, obviously we're all kids, it was, used to get our stocking, I love a good old stocking, and, yeah, rule 1 was like, never, never ever ever be loud enough to wake mum up at 3 in the morning. So, in the end, I remember one year, I think it was me and Adam, made a load of signs, so we didn't have to talk. And we'd hold up a sign like, what have you got? Like a Terry's chocolate orange, a cap gun. All the good stuff. Then I remember as well, it probably don't if you're fairly young, you might not have, but around my age, 32 now, I used to love flicking through the Christmas catalogues. Just, you get a Christmas catalogue, they'd post through the door in like, I don't even know who, in around November, early December, and it'd just be a booklet full of toys, just completely random stuff like, yeah, cap guns and all that. If I'm honest, I can't remember that many. It'd be pretty cool to see one of those booklets again. I could sit there for hours just flicking through it. Didn't even have to have the toy. Just see a picture and imagine it. It was good enough. So I went for a quick blast through the lake on this thing. And yeah, motors through there pretty well. It's always had a snorkel going basically up to the roof, so it's always been pretty good for that. But the fact that it's now got raised suspension and bigger tyres as well, this thing I bet sits pretty tall if you actually lined it up against a lot of the other trucks. It can, yeah, probably go pretty deep. See, as soon as the current kind of shows where you see it rippling on the water, absolutely just stops you dead. But then as I sort of turn away from it and it's now pushing me sideways and I'm, yeah, sort of got out of that, but it don't take no prisoners, that river. I was just thinking as well, actually, on Christmas years ago, I was trying to think, it was around the year 2000, I think. It was just before we were going to move up north. Anyway, yeah, Adam this time, not a Dave story, it's an Adam one. He was up at night, I was up at night, I went into his room, like, again, when Mum's gone to bed and everything. And it was Christmas Eve, or it might have been the day before, so sort of the 23rd, but now it's probably past midnight, it's sort of Christmas Eve, so sort of a day early. And yeah, Adam was like, let's go and sneak into the living room and we'll grab a present and we'll open a present. So we did that. To be honest, I don't know if I got a present or not. I know Adam definitely did. Adam got 2. In fact, he got 3. And yeah, he grabbed some presents and then we went back to his room and he opened them. They were from his mate and Woodhouse, his name was. Well, this is his last name. And yeah, he grabbed Road Trip that was on VHS. That was just out on video. A casino t-shirt, like a skateboarding brand. I don't know how famous it is. And a tin of Celebrations. And then we sat there, he sat there in his new shirt, we both watched Road Trip, and yeah, mainly him, but I had a few, eating Celebrations, and then even to, like, this is the level of sneakiness involved, wrapped marbles back up in the Celebrations wrappers, and then, yeah, stuck them back in the tin, made it all look re-wrapped, put it in the back under the tree, and then the funny thing was, I remember this really clearly, Adam wore the t-shirt the next day, and I remember Mum saying, oh, that's a nice t-shirt. And he said, oh yeah, it's my mate Woodhouse's. And then, yeah, he obviously later that day, he sort of took the shirt off, stuck it back in the wrapping paper and taped it back up. Stuck it into the tree, and then when it was Christmas, he opened it, put it on. And Mum's like, oh, that's nice, that's like your mate's t-shirt. And yeah, I assume when he got the Celebrations, I just like, yep, put them away because they're already full of marbles by that point. But it was pretty cool. I remember watching Road Trip. It's a good old film. Back in the day, what's that, bloody 20 years ago. Pretty crazy. Anyway, back to this thing. Yeah, I flew off there, and as you can see, damaged suspension. However, I like it. Looks pretty damn good if you ask me. No longer a Tatarin, it's a Flattering. Yeah, I'd quite happily have a suspension set up like this. Although, what was it I was using earlier? I can't remember if it was this, or might have been the P16, or one of them anyway. I equipped like the main suspension. In fact, I'm pretty sure it was this. I equipped the tallest suspension, then equipped the tallest tyres, but then when I was selling it all back, because I was on my main playthrough, or not my main one, but a playthrough, not the proving grounds, I de-equipped the suspension first, but it still let me keep the bigger tyres on, like it didn't say you're not allowed to attach the lower suspension, so you might have to go the long way round by attaching the tallest suspension, etc. But yeah, I think you actually could have the biggest size tyres on this and put the lower suspension, so it does sit more like, yeah, more like the Flattering. Which I just think, it looks cool anyway. And on top of that, it's even less likely to tip. It still claws its way up there, no problems. Still pretty damn good off-roader. And like I said before, sometimes no suspension is the best suspension. You can't take damage when there's nothing left to break. That's good life advice, that is. Pretty happy with how it landed there as well. It kind of steered into it, floored it, and it, yeah, bit into the ground, kind of flicked its way back. Overall, pretty happy. To be fair, I think they're all pretty good. I'd say my favourite is probably joint between this and the P16. Got pretty far in there before it stalled. You can see it's got snorkels, like 2 poking out just in front of the roof rack at the back. So yeah, I mean that's how deep it went. It went well above the roof until it stalled. I got back out there, flung it's the autonomous winch, so winch my way back out. But as you can see, a very solid vehicle. At some point, I'm hoping it all calms down with the bugs and we'll be able to just put multiple mods on a playthrough without, and be able to like sort of just quit and all the rest of it without it saying there's mods missing and all sorts. And yeah, I'll be keeping a lot of these things. So this is my one on my playthrough. There's the what they're called, Cat 770G tyres on it. Funny enough, I came here because normally the stock Tatarin can't knock these trees over. That last one again. And yeah, normally it can't knock them over though, it's just like the front kind of scoots up and does what basically happened on that last tree. But this one was actually able to knock most of them down. I had a good few goes on that last tree. We'll, yeah, we'll get back to that, but for now, it outsmarted me. It's just a little cruise round in this thing. Yeah, moves along pretty nicely. It's a little bit slow through the water there, but that might be these tyres, as I said, even though I believe these are a little bit more grippy than the stock kind of tyres we get in the game, compared to the big monster truck tyres and all the rest of it, they might be less than that. But overall, I mean, it claws its way through just about everything. I think I even drove over a tree stump. And then, yeah, I couldn't resist. Couldn't let that tree get away with mocking me, so I brought a road train. Yeah, these dollies on these trailers are way better. They just, I don't know, probably being double axle helps, but yeah, they don't just tuck under the trailer and twist and automatically try and tip it. It's that ramped flatbed, that's the one I'm really not keen on. It's not as bad with stuff like the maintenance trailer, because even though that has got the stupid dolly axle thing, you don't lose cargo on a maintenance trailer. The ramped flatbed just finds any excuse to tip, unless you're just driving down a road slowly. As soon as you reverse, it tips or is just awkward. If you slam the brakes on, it kind of slides sideways, flicks its dolly axle under itself and tips. It's a nightmare. Yeah, we killed that tree, because that's what it gets. It was on the list. We came back with a bit of extra weight, and it did the job. As you can see though, even with these 2 trailers, I'm not too sure how much these trailers weigh in comparison to various other trailers loaded or unloaded, but this thing's pulling them along with basically no issue. I was trying to think of a setup that I could get another vehicle with another 2 of these trailers, but because I'm using a winch to winch one of them, I kinda, yeah. I don't think there is another way to, but still, this is probably already got the record for the longest road train. It's pretty cool that they added this. Might be a possible thumbnail. And yeah, that was a little cruise though in the Tatarin on my playthrough. Pretty happy with my efforts here. Give it a little tug towards me. Timed it right. Goddamn professional. Job's a good one. It's also got the P16 horn on it, which is pretty nice. And this is only a quick few seconds really, but this is just to show you the stock Tatarin as it was. Now feels horrifically bad. Again, I've always liked this, and it is a good vehicle in the game, but it's just slow. But now the tyres do look a bit small. The suspension looks like it's already collapsed, even though it hasn't. And yeah, lastly, of course, it's Christmas. So I had to get the 12 loaves of Christmas out. Led, of course, by Professional, the red paint Loaf horse. Everyone knows the song. Is it Professional, the red paint Loaf horse is exceptionally far from stock, and if you ever see him, first thing you'll notice is his roof rack. Still working on the lyrics, I'll get them to rhyme eventually. But yeah, I think this is how Santa has to travel these days. Loaves for everybody. And feed starving children and all sorts. Here you go, have a loaf. Don't you dare eat it. However, the good news is, drive it to the shops. Get yourself 2 loaves. Everyone's a winner. Do you ever think, I don't know if I get some flack for this, but you know when you see them adverts where it says like this kid has to walk 20 miles a day to a well just to get water. Do you ever think, like, just move nearer to the well? That's what I'd do. If I had to go 20 miles a day just to get water and I know I'm going to need it tomorrow, like, just, yeah, build it a bit nearer to the well. And then they can free up some time, really start enjoying themselves. I think when you've got 12 loafs together, the collective noun is called a professional of loafs. That's what I've decided. Yeah, this trailer, it's just too long, goddammit. It doesn't go over that hill too well. I have to say, let's just take a moment to appreciate how well professional the red paint Loaf horse stays on the wrecker. Doing pretty well if I do say so myself. I've got a winch on, by the way, like winched to the Loaf, through the wrecker to the winch point that's pretty much underneath it. So it's anchored on there pretty well. Do a good bit of rallying before it goes flying off. And yeah, I mean, I recommend everybody get your Loaf out on Christmas. Driving a Loaf is like having sex while camping. It's fucking intense. Have to go for a little lap. Tried to go for another jump. See, again though, this thing isn't just off the charts OP. It's just got a hell of a lot of power, but now we've got 12 Loafs. It's getting in, what, we're in 5th gear, so it's not quite just winding its way easily up to 8th. Still motors along very nicely and high, but yeah, I just couldn't get fast enough. I wanted to go and try and get some air. I don't know how the hell Santa gets off the ground. He's some kind of goddamn professional. Pretty happy though. Honestly, it takes bloody ages to load that many loaves. To try and get them all lined up and bunched up as best I can. I think there is 11 on the trailer, but of course, 12th loaf. Well, he was. He's gone. It's lifting for moles. Didn't really make any difference though. Going this way is even worse. So trailer digs in. We're flooring it, giving it all she's got. There's OG Loaf on the front of the trailer. It's good to see him back. Nice little wheelie there. It's quite happy with that. But it's not going to happen. She is anchored, and anchored well. It's those legs. Those legs need to just vanish and disappear, and then I think it'd act just more like it'd skid its way over. But yeah, those legs are just dug in, and that's it. It's having none of it. So went and built another one of these, sent this in. What have I got? Yeah, the Jill mud thing's on at the minute. I think these are like OP versions, which is fine by me. So I kind of figured this thing's got a hell of a lot of grip and power. Yeah, makes the winch like a bungee rope. Practically wheeling, but yeah, it just keeps springing me back. I was having none of it. So what's this got on? 16 tyres worth of grip. Still. Once stuff glitches in though, it's like the same as when my Hummers go flying around White Valley and get stuck in the cliffs and that. It doesn't matter how much power you've got, you ain't getting them out. When I flew that twin steer down the runway and kind of flew off the cliff and then winched to a Hummer that only had like the front bumper glitched into the cliff. Even that just absolutely stopped my twin steer dead. Yeah, tried to push it from the back, don't know what she said, and it was having none of it, so of course, for this kind of situation, you've got to send in a professional. Nothing less will do. He knows what he's doing. He's not a bold Loaf, but he is trained for such a situation. As you can see, I can't really help it at the minute. The Loafs are all jiggling around like mad on the back. They're yeah, jumping around. That blue Loaf was kind of going a bit crazy. And yes, I did have to scroll through 5.8 million winch points to get to me Loaf. But I've winched from the wrecker to the Loaf. He's going in. He knows what he's doing. We know what the plan is by now. And again, there is some Loafs have fell off, but I genuinely don't think it'd make any difference because Loaf's too highly trained. That was a glitch, not on edit. Again, I think if it was a bold Loaf, it would have just slipped right in. but I think the roof rack is kind of catching on the tyres a bit, but of course, keep jiggling, and we're off. Absolute goddamn horse of a vehicle. Christmas is saved. At this point, it was like the urge to let go of the accelerator. Didn't happen, but we rolled. You can't really see, but there is a lot of children down there. They've all now got themselves a free Loaf. Still dragging that Loaf along with me. OG Loaf, he wants to come along for a little ride. He knows what to do. Right, whoop, and he's back. I pulled the field of view out to like 120. For some reason it keeps resetting every time you turn the game off and back on. It goes back to 90 or whatever for third person view. I have to keep adjusting it. It'd be nice if there was a way to just lock the camera as well when you're fully zoomed out, because it's pretty rare that I need to shove the camera up a truck's arse. Like, it's not something that is particularly high on my list of needs. One thing I thought was pretty cool was that this Tatarin is actually able to climb up on the trailer. Got a little bit squirrely there at first, but it counts. But yeah, the fact that it can actually just load itself on trailers is pretty bloody handy and pretty good. It'll, well, to be fair, now this thing's pretty beefed up. I'd quite happily sort of drive it to wherever I'm going anyway. But if you did want to go this route, yeah, normally trying to lift one of these things up onto a trailer, I'm sure actually now the wrecker crane would lift it up, no issues. I'm not sure if the Tatarin though has a winch point in the middle. I know it is a Scout, but I can't really remember it having one. But yeah, either way, no problems. Go for a little drive. I kind of edit ahead a bit because there was not really a whole lot going on. But it did let me pack the Tatarin, even though it's sitting a lot wider than the trailer, which is again pretty good. I like how sort of lenient it is as far as that goes. What I wanted to do was keep it in 8th, so I could go do a jump on the hill, and then yeah, we rolled. Goddamn sumbitch. Fortunately though, this thing's got like a mega winch on it, so I assume I'm on one of those trees over in the middle. Yeah, it does work quite a lot. If you just winch from the trailer kind of twists and flicks your truck over. And then yeah, give this one last test, just able to drive up from the back of the trailer, so don't have to do any crazy acrobatics and accurate steering. And we're there. You have to be a little bit careful with it, because it can easily, as soon as you scoot one wheel off the side, it just kind of falls off. But get it packed and we're good to go. And yeah, I'm still having a good old time with this wrecker. The thing I like about it, has mostly got the capability to just go flying, which I'm kind of enjoying at the minute, even though it does end inevitably in some kind of horrific crash. It's yeah, it's good. Went for a jump, Loafs everywhere. Notice how he is a goddamn professional though. He stayed on his wheels, and then I drove back. There's another Loaf there. Not sure what they're doing, but again, goddamn horse of a vehicle. Gets back to his wheels. Try again. Well, it was able, I think, to climb up the gears easier this time. Obviously, a Tatarin weighs less than 12 Loafs. That's one thing we've learnt today. But it's still not, it's kind of up in the gears. I think it gets to 8 just before we're there, but it's not like full-on Jeff special speeds. Oh, my bad, Loaf. He's all good. Again. Sorry, Loafs. But they know what they're doing. As much as I do like this jump, like I say, it'd be quite nice if there was a little bit more of a rampy ramp at the end. And maybe not a patch of trees to land in. But it is still pretty cool. I appreciate it's there, over not. But yeah, that's about it for today, as I said. Happy Christmas to everyone, enjoy your day, whatever it is you're getting up to. I'll be back, well I'm going to go obviously for Christmas dinner and everything, so I'll get them a bit late, go sleep a bit late, so tomorrow it'll probably be a little bit more of a simple video again, but I want to get back to reviewing some of these vehicles pretty soon, because yeah, I quite like doing that. Anyway, that's about it for today though. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon.